Hi everyone, welcome back. So I wanted to continue our conversation about Jewish spirituality and think about this really big component of Jewish life, the land of Israel, the people of Israel, the history of Israel. Whenever we get towards the summer, which we are now, I always look forward to spending time in Israel, whether it's studying in Israel or traveling in Israel or celebrating B'nai Mitzvah in Israel. To me, summer equals Israel. And I'm sad that that's not going to be the case this summer, but it's still an important topic for us to think about and to consider how it is that we relate to Israel as modern Jews. So first, let me ask you, when I say the word Israel, what comes to mind? Do you think of the place of our ancestors, of our biblical narratives? Do you think of the dream of the Jewish people coming home to our homeland in Israel after so many years of being in the diaspora, of not having a Jewish home? Perhaps you think about the more modern aspects of Israel, like technology and science and innovation and this whole beautiful idea of Israel as a startup nation and really being a leader in so many ways. And when we think about Israel, of course, we have to think about the modern reality of Israel, about the politics and about the conflicts and about the wars and about the tension between Israel and her neighbors. It's not a dream any longer. And so we also have to deal with Israel as the reality that it is in our world today. So for me, the challenge of Israel is blending this beautiful, inspiring dream of the history of Israel and the story and the tradition of Israel with the modern state of Israel. For me, the dream is easy. I fell in love with the dream of Israel as a kid, going to Zionist summer camp, singing kibbutz songs, learning about Theodor Herzl, and literally crying when we would represent the destruction of the Second Temple in Jerusalem on Tisha B'Av. I fell in love with that dream, and it's part of me even to this day. The reality of modern Israel is a little bit tougher, to be honest. While I'm so proud of the amazing accomplishments Israel has as a small, democratic, cutting-edge nation in those borders, in that neighborhood, that is no small feat and miraculous on so many levels. And yet there are elements of Israel that are very troubling. I don't like to see the conflict that continues generation after generation between Israel and her neighbors. I don't like to see the stranglehold that orthodoxy has on religion in Israel. And I don't like to see the lack of civility in politics in Israel any more than I like to see it here in the United States. This mitzvah, this commandment to love Israel, is not as straightforward as our other mitzvot. We light our Shabbat candles, we say Kiddush, it's easy, and we do it with joy and with love on a regular basis. To find spiritual meaning and to find a connection with 5,000 years of history, to think about all that humanity and history wrapped up into a modern and complicated and messy and sometimes dangerous place, that's much more challenging. So here's what I think, and here's what works for me. I love Israel like family. I pray for Israel's peace. I celebrate Israel's Yom HaAtzmaut. I remember her fallen soldiers on Yom HaZikaron. I say Bashana Haba'a B'Yerushalayim, next year in Jerusalem. I love being part of that tradition that puts Israel at the center of so much of what we do in Jewish life. But I don't love blindly. I feel it's important for me to form my opinions, to share my voice, and to advocate for the changes in Israel that I think are necessary for Israel to continue on her mission to be an Or LaGoyim, to be a light unto the nations. So Israel is not just this rosy dream. The dream is amazing. I never cease to be inspired being in the land of Israel and seeing these historical, holy places mixed in with everyday life. Gas stations and supermarkets right there next to synagogues and study halls and places from our history. And I never cease to be amazed to hear the language of Hebrew coming to life so many generations after our biblical text. That dream is very inspiring and for me something very spiritually satisfying. And yet at the same time, I feel it's important as modern Jews to learn about the modern conflicts that are happening in Israel and to advocate for the values that we believe in, to have a voice in supporting women's equality in Israel, to have a voice in supporting religious freedom in Israel, and to have a voice and a role in building Israel as a society that is a just and equitable society for all. So in a nutshell, those are some of the things I think it's important to consider as we try to build a spiritual connection with this mitzvah of loving Israel. I'm so curious to hear from you about your Israel experiences. What are some places that inspired you, some experiences that really have stayed with you through your Jewish life related to the land of Israel? And maybe there's some things that made you a little uncomfortable or were challenging. I'd like to hear about those as well, so we continue growing and learning in our tradition together. See you again soon.